Okay, so good day, class. So previously in your child and adolescent development course in the first semester, some foundational theories related to the learner's development were discussed. So this lesson will help you think about and review these theories that you have taken up. And at the end of our discussion, of course, and again, we will going to connect these theories to the learning process. Okay? So at the end of our discussion, of course, we will be able to explain salient concept or important concepts and principles of the major development theories that we've discussed during your first semester, and then we will apply these theories to the teaching and learning process. Okay. Okay, so here are the six developmental theories that were discussed with you in your child and adolescent development. And the ideas of the theories such as Freud, Ericsson, Piaget, Vygotsky, Kohlberg, and BroadFen Brenner, these remain to be the foundation in our understanding of the learner's development. So let us recall the highlights of some of these theories. So the first one, class, is Sigmund Freud's five stages of psychosexual development and its three components of personality. So according to Freud, no, class, if we can still remember, the mind is like an iceberg. It floats with 1/7 of its bulk above water. And this is, of course, the very famous analogy that Freud referred to when he explained the subconscious mind, because he believed that much of what the person is really about is not what we see in the outside and what is conscious, but what is there hidden in the subconscious mind. Okay. And as teachers, it is important that we remember not to be too quick in making conclusions about our students' intentions for their action, and we must always consider that there are many factors that may influence their behavior. Another thing, class, no, Freud also emphasized the three components that make up one's personality: the id, the ego, and the superego. We remember that the id is the pleasure centered, the ego is the reality centered, and the superego is the ideal or the conscience. Okay? So Freud also believed that an individual goes through five psychosexual stages of development, and this includes the oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital stages. So each stage demands satisfaction of needs, and failure to do so may result in fixations. Okay? And the next one, class, is Ericsson's eight psychosocial stages of development. If we can still remember, Ericsson believed that healthy children will not fear life if their elders have integrity enough not to fear death. Okay? He presented a very comprehensive framework of eight psychosocial stages of development and described the crises or expressed in opposite polarities that a person goes through. No, for example, sa stage 1, yung basic conflict was trust versus mistrust, and the virtue is hope. And the stage 2, autonomy versus shame and doubt. Of course, the virtue is will. Stage 3 is initiative versus guilt. The virtue is purpose. Stage 4 is industry versus inferiority. The virtue is competence. Stage 5 is the identity versus confusion or role confusion, and the virtue is fidelity. Stage 6 is the intimacy versus isolation, and the virtue is love. Stage 7 is generativity versus stagnation, and the virtue is care. And stage 8, which is the last stage, is the integrity versus despair, which is wisdom would be the virtue. Okay, so if you could still remember, we also discussed the maladaptations and malignancies that results from, for example, failure to effectively resolve the crisis, together with the virtue, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, that emerges when balance and resolution of the crisis is attained. Okay, so I will no longer give in-depth discussion on this because this lesson is just a summary, a review, and I believe you are already familiar with this duty. Okay, so let's just be reminded that one of the educational implications of Ericsson's psychosocial development theory of personality adhere to instructional materials matching our learners' developmental stage. So as teachers, we must see to it that it should be expected that learners progress in their educational needs in a certain approximate structure but with, of course, variations. Okay? So the next one is John Piaget's stages of cognitive development. So again, if we can still remember, according to Piaget, no, the principal goal of education in the school should be creating men and women who are capable of doing new things and not simply repeating what other generations have done. Okay, so if we could still remember also, Piaget's theory centered on the stages of cognitive development such as the sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational. And he described four stages of cognitive development, and each has characteristic ways of thinking and perceiving that shows how one's cognitive abilities develop. No? So pag sinabi natin sensory motor, ito yung understanding of the world that are limited to visual and tactile interaction. Kapag naman pre-operational from 2 to 4 years of age, it involves thinking like visual images about sensory motor actions and experiences, as well as in symbolic thought. Okay, and then the thought is focused on the particular without abstracting general principles and relies on perception and intuition. Okay, doon naman sa concrete operational from ages 7 to 8 or up to 11 to 12 years old, no, at this stage of thought, yung mga bata na yan, they understand notions of reversibility, 'di ba? Sabi natin doon, if you can still remember, yung subtraction can cancel addition, no? Yung for example, a clay ball can be transformed into a sausage and back again into a clay ball, okay? And also the associativity, okay? Next is the formal operational, which lasts from at the age of 11 to 12 years old to 16 to 17 years old. And in here, abstract and decontextualize reasoning using verbal propositions can now be observed together with the ideas and concept, no, that is possible without access to concrete objects na. Okay? Students in this age or in this stage, formal operational, can hypothesize, no, they can already solve problem, they can note relations between ideas and things, and they can hold a number of ideas in mind and develop and relate these concepts. Okay? So the next one class is the stages of moral development by Lawrence Goldberg. So again, as we can still remember, Goldberg proposed three levels of moral development, which is the pre-conventional, the conventional, and the post-conventional, which are further subdivided into 6 stages. Okay, sabi natin doon yung stage 1 is about punishment and obedience orientation, like behavior is determined by consequences. So the individual will obey in order to avoid what? To avoid punishment. Okay? So in stage 2, it's all about self-interest or instrumental purpose orientation, like behavior is determined again by consequences, and the individual now focuses on receiving rewards or satisfying personal needs. Okay? The stage 3 under the conventional level is the good boy, nice girl or orientation, or the good boy, good girl attitude, no? And in here, behavior is determined by social approval, like the individual wants to maintain or win the affection and approval of others by being a good person. Okay? Again, in stage 4, still under the level 2 conventional, mayroon tayong tinatawag na law and order orientation. And these are what we talk about. Social rules and laws determine our behavior. Okay? In here, the individual now takes into consideration a larger perspective, which are the societal laws, diba? Moral and yung moral decision making natin, it becomes more than consideration of close ties to others. Okay? In stage 5, nandiyan yung social contract orientation. Stage 5 and 6 is under the level 3, which is the post-conventional. andyan yung social contract orientation wherein yung mga tao dito is yung kanilang rights determine their behavior. Okay? The individual here views laws and rules as flexible tools for improving human purposes like given the right situation, there are always an exception to rules. Okay? Like when laws are not consistent with individual rights and the interests of the majority, they do not bring about good for people and alternatives should be considered. Do you still remember yung dilemma ni Heinz dun sa pinresent natin during our discussion in your first semester in the child and adolescent development and the learning principles? That's it. Okay? And the last one, class, yung stage 6, which is the universal ethical principle orientation. So in here, according to Kohlberg, this is the highest stage of functioning. However, class, again, katulad ng sinabi ko before, Kohlberg claimed that some individuals will never reach this level because at this stage, the appropriate action is determined by one's self-chosen ethical principles of conscience. Uh, and these principles are abstract and universal in application. So this type of reasoning involves taking the perspective of every person or group that could potentially be affected by the decision. Okay? So again, if we can still remember, sinabi ko din last semester that in order for us to apply this theory, yung Kohlberg's theory in the classroom, we we must promote moral action, no class, by encouraging our students to reflect on their own moral reasoning and the moral reasoning of the others of or their classmates. Okay? Okay, so the next one is Lev Vygotsky's sociocultural development. If you can still remember, no, I told you last sem that Vygotsky emphasized the role of social interaction in learning and development. He also said that the scaffolding, naalala yung scaffolding, no, ito daw yung systematic manner of providing assistance to the learner that helps the learner to effectively acquire skills. Okay? He also believed that the guidance from a more knowledgeable other, natatandaan ng MKO, okay, would lead a learner to a higher level of performance than if the learner was just alone. And this higher level of performance then eventually becomes the learner's actual performance when he works independently in the future. And this concept is what we call a zone of proximal development. So remember that? Okay, sige. So I also stated last semester that this theory of Vygotsky has been used to inspire a focus on interactive and collaborative organizations of teaching and learning that may encourage students to learn from social interactions with peers together with the teacher. So the main application of this theory is that learning occurs through interaction, through negotiation, and collaboration among learners. So, as teachers, our goal no, is to support students to engage in activities no, like discussion, exploration, and use of the tools, technology and the tools in order for the learning process to take place. Okay? And the last one, class, is Yuri BroadFen Grener's ecological system theory of development. Okay, so this model was also known as the bioecological system theory, and it presents child development within the context of relationship system that comprise the child's environment. So this model, katulad ng nakikita natin sa presentation, is composed of 5 systems, which is the microsystem, the immediate environment, the child, the mesosystem that talks about connection no, between the environment, the exosystem that talk about the indirect environment of the child, the macrosystem that talks about social and cultural values, and the chronosystem, which is the changes over time. Okay, and each system or each layer is further made up of different structures. Okay? So again, if we can still remember, I also said last sem that the term biological points out that the child's biological makeup impacts the child's development. Okay, so the child's growing and developing body and the interplay between his or her immediate family, the interplay with her his or her community environment, together with the societal landscape, no, it all fuels and steer the child's development. And the changes or conflict in any one layer, no, again, in any one layer, yung mga changes and conflict na nangyayari sa kahit na anong layer na yan, it will ripple throughout the other layers. Okay? So to study a child's development then, under Yuri BroadFen ecological system theory, we must look not only at the child and his or her immediate environment, but also the larger environment with which the child interacts. Okay? So again, these are the 6 theories related to learners' development. So for your activity regarding this, you're going to identify one concept from each theory that we review, and you will describe how this can be applied in teaching and learning process. Okay? So the assignment now is already posted in the Google Classroom, and all you have to do, class, no, is you just have to pick at least one concept from each jury, from 6 juries. Again, each jury one concept and one application to teaching and learning process. Okay? No? You will just pick one concept from each jury and then you will discuss how will you apply this specific concept to the teaching and learning process. Okay? Thank you so much.